We cover the latest topics and trends making waves across the sport and chat with our industry's most prominent leaders, so your golf business stays one step ahead. Welcome to Golf Business Live, powered by Club Caddy. Here's NGCOA CEO Jay Karen, and owner of Augusta Ranch Golf Club and secretary of the PGA of America, Don Ray.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the February 2022 episode of Golf Business Live, powered by our friends at Club Caddy. Thank you again to Club Caddy for supporting our little show here. In fact, Jason Pearsall from Club Caddy will be visiting the NGCOA headquarters next month. So we look forward to talking to Jason and seeing what the future holds for their company. I'm Jay Karen, CEO of the National Golf Course Owners Association. The egg to my ham is Don Ray, owner of Augusta Ranch Golf Club. Are you the egg or the ham? I don't know. In Mesa, Arizona, and secretary of the PGA of America. Don, welcome to the show as always. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing well. We are busy. It's peak season. It's time for spring training, but there's no spring training.
Oh, what do you mean?
Well, they don't know what they're going to do, right? I mean, it's supposed to start. Pitchers and catchers should be coming, and they're not here. And at first I was a little worried about it. I'm like, okay, so we're all about spring training here in Arizona. I mean, it drives traffic. People are coming here, but since they're canceling the game so late, people are already coming, and now they got nothing to do but play golf. So I don't know. I thought it was going to be a negative to the market here in Arizona, but it might just be a positive because now they can't play 18 holes and watch a game. They're going to have to play 36. So we'll see. Okay.
All right. That's not so bad. Well, it's good to see your face. Today we're going to have on the show some leaders from LinksDAO. This is going to be interesting. This is the first effort I learned about, certainly, about where NFT kind of crowdfunding was used to get this initiative going, which aims to buy or build maybe a top-notch golf course and create this new kind of club. If you have no idea what the hell I'm talking about, well, expect to be enlightened, dear watchers and listeners, because we're going to have these folks on and ask them a ton of questions. We'll have Jim Daly and Adam Bezvinick. I think it's Bezvinick. You'll have to help me, Adam, with the pronunciation of that. But in the meantime, before we bring on our guests, so Don, could you smell the beer cans from the Waste Management Open all the way over there from Mesa, Arizona? Talk to me a little bit about this past week in your market. What was it like?
Yeah, it has been interesting, talking to everybody's got a different perspective on what happened. I don't think anybody argues the fact that 16 and what's been created there, it's exciting for golf, right? I mean, when you and I both know 8 to 9% of the population plays golf, but when there's 300,000 people there, I'm pretty sure they're not all golf enthusiasts, but they like to have a good time. And isn't that what we've been trying to preach to everybody, is that golf is fun for anybody and everybody? But yeah, certainly the talk here at the water cooler at Augusta Ranch with players and staff and everybody else we've been talking to, it's is it too much? Yeah, when you're throwing beer cans or you're taking your shirt off, is that overstepping it just a little bit? I certainly have some thoughts. As a guy at a par 61 golf course, I want everybody to have fun, but I know kids are always watching. That to me is the big deal here. A lot of adults having fun. God bless them. You're legal to drink after you're 21 years old, but I don't know if that means we should condone drinking all the time. There's still a lot of families watching golf, and that's such a big event. So I have to say, not as the secretary of the PGA, but I will say as the owner of Augusta Ranch, I wish a couple of those things wouldn't have happened, because although I love a hole-in-one just as much as the next person, I think they celebrated a little bit too hard, and it wasn't the best image that I was shooting for golf when I know what it does here at Augusta Ranch.
Yeah, crazy spectacle for sure. Our friend John Easterbrook once told me the funniest story about when he played the 16th hole during, I guess, the Pro-Am, and he replaced Roger Clemens on the roster that because he couldn't play, Roger couldn't play, and the crowd didn't know about this change or something like that. And they start introducing the players on the 16th tee, and they say, and in for Roger Clemens is John Easterbrook from Troon Golf, and boy, did they boo him like crazy. And he said he stood on there with his 8-iron, just like shaking like a leaf, just trying to. And he said he got it on the back of the green, I think, which was great. But that made me laugh. Did he ever tell you that story?
I've heard that story before, and knowing John, that he was horrified, believe me. And he's probably got a bunch of Roger Clemens memorabilia. That man has an amazing collection that he takes a lot of pride in. So, yeah, but that, and that's what's cool. I mean, you can play that golf course. Yeah. Anybody in America can play that golf course, experience that. I mean, heck, they do have to take down the stadium, but it takes them so long to put it up and so long to take it down. There's really only about 4 or 5 months where there's nothing out there. So I think, isn't that cool? Because you can't do that in football.
Yeah.
You can't run a passing route, at the same stadium the Super Bowl was played in, but you can take a shot at 16. And that's the beauty of what golf's about. So, hey, I love more people watching golf, but
that's I think
emotion's awesome.
That connection between the average player and what the elite do, and how you can't do that in these other sports. I think that connective tissue between the amateur golfer and that's what makes us unique. Like you said, you can play these fields of play, and that's even extending it to the rules debate about like that we play one set of rules, and we put one set of standards for equipment. That there's this connectivity to the elite players that we are playing the same game. And that's different, than the other sports. And there's something to be said for the longevity of that and the special nature of that. To everybody at home, just as a reminder to submit your questions to Don, me, or our guests, use the comments area of your chosen channel, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube, and we'll try to get to them before our time is up. A little house chat here about the industry and so forth. We are on the tail end of what we call the show season in the golf industry. We had the PGA show a few weeks ago, the Golf Business Conference at the PGA show. A week and a half ago, I was at the Golf Course Superintendents Association of America conference out in San Diego. And then right now happening is the Club Management Association of America show back in San Diego as well. So lots going on. I was fortunate to attend, obviously, the PGA show and our conference, as well as GCSA. Great stuff. Very enthusiastic people that are at meeting in person and so forth. We had a great Golf Business Conference, lots of great speakers and sponsors, awards. We capped off our time together with a great interview with Annika Sorenstam, our Award of Merit winner, and Allison George, the inimitable Allison George, receiving our Don Rossi Award. It was a really wonderful Wednesday down there in Orlando. We encourage folks to check out the interview with Annika. It's up on YouTube now. But save the date for all of you calendar folks. Save the date next year, January 23rd through 25th, 2023, for the next Golf Business Conference at the PGA show. So what's the word on the street, Don? As far as the whole question of attendance at the shows and who's going to come back and all that. What now that it's kind of behind us a little bit, what's the narrative out there that you're hearing?
Yeah, I think attendance was at about 60%. We had 4,000 to 5,000 PGA golf professionals, around 11,000 attendees, and John Lindard and I and Jim Richardson and I as officers, we walked around and we tried to say thank you to all the vendors who were there. We really feel that the vendors who came there are supporting the PGA member, right? And they're supporting networking in the business. That's why I love the fact that the National Golf Course Owners Show and the PGA Show is now together, right? And isn't that really cool? Because I believe owners and golf professionals need to get together, because at the end of the day, we're the ones who are making golf happen, right? When we talked to some of those vendors, they were very successful. I talked to some in the tech space, some in the hard goods, some in just those new items, and then a lot in the apparel. And they felt like everybody was writing orders. Like there wasn't as much traffic of a bunch of tire kickers. There was actually people there who, one, wanted to be there, and two, while they were there, they wanted to get some work done. So I'm not just giving this some, association, Don Ray's the secretary of the PGA spin. Not at all. I talked to real people. I got real answers. And the ones I talked to were very happy they were at the show and thought it was one of their most successful shows. And, and it was really cool to see Bridgestone there, had a great conversation with them. And they felt like, hey, they had a product that they wanted, the PGA of America member, their new ball fitting tool. And they wanted us to see it. And so that they were there and they were happy to be there. So I look forward to the show. I don't know what the next year's show looks like. because I can see a little of both, right? Where you get so many people, hey, maybe it's like the Phoenix Open a little bit, who aren't even there for the show. They're just there to be in an event. And now you've got the real people who were there placing orders. So somewhere in the middle is probably the answer. But I thought this year's show was definitely a success. Education was attended at a high level. You guys had some amazing speakers and great education at your show. So together, I think we moved the ball forward in the golf industry, which is what that show's supposed to do every year. That's how we kick off every year, is at the PGA show and your conference.
Some people were asking me about, what's the attendance going to be and should I go and all that. And I kind of equate it to like a house party. If you normally go to a house party where there might be 500 people, in your time there, you're probably going to only see 50 or 60. You're going to see the people you want. You're going to have a good time. You're going to make the most of it. Whether there's 10, 15,000 or 30 or 40,000, there are enough people that are gathering for you to conduct business and get great ideas and do things. So that we measure the KPIs of how many heads were this. I know that's important to, read exhibitions and others, as they get measured. But, for industry folks, we gather. We need to gather, learn from each other and talk with each other, whether there's 50 people or 50,000 people. We're gatherers. We like to be together and share ideas. And so I'm still bullish that, and I'm sure they'll tinker with the format and just to try to stay relevant to everybody possible. But I don't think anybody's writing the obituary of the PGA show by any means. In fact, it's probably been written a few times over the last 30 years, and they're just like a cat, they keep coming back and it's resilient as ever. So we're very pleased with our results. So next week, just for folks that might be in the Carolinas, I'll be at the PGA Carolina section meeting Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. So if anybody's out there, come say hello. So the NGF reported last week that course closures in America have declined sharply. As one of these, again, key performance indicators, as though it is kind of a health of the industry, that course closures indicates health, I suppose. And I think we need to split the hair on this, because I'm sure course closures have slowed down probably because of COVID and the bump in revenue that those on the margins, we're seeing, and they could stay alive and stay open. But, chime in on this one, Don, you're the actual course and landowner, but, the narrative of golf course closures being as strong as they were for over a 10 or 15 year period, like the narrative is that golf must be suffering, golf courses closed because golf is suffering. And, what tends to go missing from that narrative or that story is why these courses sometimes close. As Joe Bettis likes to say, sometimes the dirt under the grass, the dirt is worth more than the grass. That real estate becomes so valuable that as a course owner operator, you're cashing out, and that has maybe little to do with actual demand and supply in your market, but it's a real estate business as well, and people forget that, right? And that the exuberance around building golf courses really was fed by the home builder community for a long time, and it's kind of ironic that a lot of the home builders are coming back to buy the land to build more homes. So while the home building market is sometimes seen as kind of can be blamed for the exuberance because, a lot of courses were built without regard for real demand for golf. But now they're coming back, maybe paying 5x on the land to turn it into houses. So they're coming back to the rescue of those golf course operators. I don't know, what's your take on this course closure metric as a metric of health in our industry?
Right. Well, there's so much, as your point, there's so much that can go into that. It's like, how do you just attribute it to one thing? And I think if you rush to the data, you're going to make some big mistakes, because I think it's all the above of what you just said. I mean, certainly Arizona was one of the biggest markets that was building golf courses to sell homes, right? I mean, that's what they did. Yeah. Okay, we all knew that. Lot premiums were great, and we did overbuild, certainly in this market. But I think it's come back a little bit. Certainly demand's up there. I think if we asked our friends at Palooza, they would say we still need to lose some golf courses in the system because there's just not enough golfers, even with this higher demand. But I think it doesn't surprise me golf courses aren't closing because I think there's a lot of golf courses that are still busy right now. My biggest concern, Jay, is, are they on a sugar high? Are they doing anything really substantial that's good for them, that's going to keep this sustainable when club sports do come back a little bit, or people do have to actually show up at meetings and can't just zoom into everything? I know I'm getting tired of Zoom calls. I kind of want to go into the office. I love coming here to the golf course, but Yeah, so let's not read too much into that. I think it was good that golf courses are closed, and I hate to say that because that means jobs for PGA golf professionals. But I also know that a PGA professional at a facility that's going right now, they're investing into it. I think golf course owners, because of your education, are actually becoming smarter owners now. So for those owners who aren't diving into this new education of all the things we're going to talk about even today, I think they're making a big mistake, and they could be on the sugar high going, well, hey, golf's back. Absolutely, golf is back. But we're going to have to do some things to make sure we retain all these new golfers that are coming out. So, yeah, I'm not looking too much into those numbers. Certainly, if a home builder came a call, and I think a golf course owner should really think about it, because at the end of the day, we did buy land, whether we have 18 holes on it or not. But down deep, I think a golf course owner, he loves running a golf course, or she loves running a golf course. So, yeah, let's
Well,
not.
whether a home builder
worry about it
comes
too much.
or either a home builder or one of these DAO entities comes and buys your golf course, right? Who cares as long as they pay big money for your course, right?
Well, if it helps the homeowners and helps everybody around, right? I mean, that's the thing. I love golf. I know what it does for families and for fitness and for the military. So, I appreciate that that they raised all that money, right? 10.2, 11. I can't wait to hear the numbers and what they're going to do with it. I'd rather them do that than, I heard McDonald's is getting into the metaverse. Well, if McDonald's is going to be in the metaverse, I hope golf is in the metaverse. So let's make it happen.
No, thank you for that metaverse. We're going to ask about that as well. All right, before we bring our guests on, just a quick little plug or mention on the new to the NGCOA website is a legislative tracking system now. So you can go to the Advocacy Center wherever you are around the country. If there is legislation active in your state, we've filtered them based on all kinds of keyword searches, and just click on your state and it'll show what active legislation we're tracking, where it's at, what our issue is there, and so forth. So that's brand new to the NGCOA website. So I encourage you to check it out if you're inclined to follow public policy in your state that may be impacting your business, which I know we all are concerned with. Okay, so we are going to bring on our guests, Jim Daly and Adam Bezvanik. All right, come on up, guys. All right, Adam, first things first, how do you pronounce your last name?
You nailed it, Bezvanik.
Bezvanik, excellent.
It just looks a lot more complicated than it actually is.
Well, welcome to the show, Adam and Jim. Jim is the CEO and founder of LinksDAO, and Adam is the co-founder and head of strategy. Before we dive in, why don't you guys tell us a little bit just about who you are, what you do for a living, and then we'll dive into some questions about this LinksDAO project. So, Adam, we'll start with you, and then Jim.
Sure. Thanks for having me, guys. Really appreciate it. And Jay, thanks for replying to a cold email a few weeks ago that kind of kicked all this off. But yeah, my day job is I run a small venture capital fund based out of New York City called Looking Glass, investing in early stage software and technology companies. And I've been involved with the LinksDAO project now for about literally the 8 weeks that it's existed, and teamed up with Jim and a couple other guys, including Mike Dudas, who put this idea out there, and excited to share more about it.
Great. Jim?
Yeah, and Jay, by the way, all of us call him Bez because it's far more simple.
Bez, thank you.
So feel free to use that nomenclature if you'd like. Jim Daly, CEO of LinksDAO. I traditionally have been in the advertising, media, and ad tech space. Actually, the first job I had out of college was a second assistant golf pro at a golf course called St. Andrews in Hastings-on-Hudson, New York. I was not very good at it, loved the game, but as a golf pro, I don't think I was going to make it. So I went into advertising, and most recently, global president at a very large B2B ad tech company called Teeds, they've got a valuation of a few $billion. And like Adam, have been with the LinksDAO project since day one, which is about 60 days ago.
Okay, well, so for all the office, the office lovers watching here, so Jim, let me clarify. Were you the assistant professional or the assistant to the professional?
I was the second assistant professional, so I think that might be one rung lower than anything you described.
Excellent. Well, guys, thank you for joining us. Let's start from scratch, because that's the honest place for us to start from when you're talking to Don Ray and Jay Karen here. When I say dumb it down for us, there's a reason I want you to dumb it down for us so that we can understand some of these things. This is the first time we've had a real discussion about this on the show for sure. So I want, I don't know who wants to take lead on answering the questions, but we're going to just kind of have a glossary session here for a moment. I want to know, and I think our readers or our watchers want to know, okay, what is crypto? What is an NFT? And what is metaverse? What are these things that are happening out there in the world that seem to be taking the world by storm, but so many people still seem to be ignorant as to what all of this really means. So I want to start there, and then we'll talk about how it intersects with golf. So give us a basic education, if you don't mind.
Sure, of course. And what the questions that you just asked, Jay, we could probably talk nonstop for 7 or 8 hours for like the high level. But basically, I mean, crypto, when people say crypto, they're typically referring to cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin and Ethereum. And there's a slew of other ones out there. And the basic infrastructure for this decentralized currency is something that's called the blockchain. And this concept is important if you're talking about currency, if you're talking about NFTs, and then if you're talking about Web3. And I'll go through all these. And it's actually a heck of a lot easier than people think. So essentially, the blockchain is it's a ledger. Okay, so it's basically recording each one of the transactions that happen. So if Don is he's a Bitcoin billionaire, he wants to sell me one Bitcoin, he sells it to me, and that is recorded on the blockchain. Okay. The blockchain is decentralized, so it's not owned by any one person or any one country, and it cannot be faked. Okay, so that is kind of that blockchain idea is what all of the crypto space is built on and based on. Okay, so Web3, which is kind of and I'm mentioning this because it's an important part of our project, and I think we're seeing kind of an enormous amount of interest from the general community in this space. It's actually really simple. Web 1 was like back in the day in the 90s when we were all on AOL and Prodigy, right? And that was the building of the internet infrastructure by a heck of a lot of people working together. All right. Web 2 is it's the era of the platforms, the closed off walled gardens that do all their own development in-house. This is Google, this is Facebook, this is Amazon. Web 3 is the idea of large communities coming together and managing what they do with their businesses or with with their strategies through consensus. So it's a decentralized decision-making process. Okay. Right. So a good example of this is there are these companies that have come up like investment vehicles, right? They're called DAOs, decentralized autonomous organizations. And everybody in this, there might be 100 people in this investment DAO. They're all VCs. They all put in 100 grand into the DAO. All right. Anybody in the DAO can put up a proposal to invest in a company or a project. Everybody in the DAO votes. If they reach 65%, which is the quorum for a yes or a no, then they invest in the company or they don't. No one person can say, I don't want to do this. There's not one person at the top that says, I don't want to do this. It's really a consensus-based mechanism for making decisions. And Jay, NFTs, which this is kind of the center of our business and our strategy, are basically they're non-fungible tokens. Okay. And the easiest example of this is there's been a heck of a lot of folks that have made digital art and sold it. All right. So if anybody who's watching right now wants to Google Bored Ape, like monkeys, Bored Ape Yacht Club. Okay. This is the most famous NFT project. It's basically these 10,000 images, animated images of apes. Some of them wearing hats, some of them wearing glasses, some of them wearing jackets, some of them have monocles, right? So there's all these different varieties. When that project came out, people would buy this NFT, this digital collectible, for $300. Now they're routinely selling in the resale market for $300,000 to $500,000 a piece.
Now, let me stop you there.
Yeah.
Why? Well, why? Where's the intrinsic value in doing that? Like, why did someone think that my $300 is going to turn into something here based on the purchase of this animated, ape?
So great question. So perceived value is everything in collectibles, right? So I have a ton of sports memorabilia, right? So, I have, let's see if I can. So this I bought for $50 in Chinatown when I was a kid. Okay. I don't know if anybody's a Jordan fan. It's a Jordan 86 rookie card. This is worth a lot more than that. Why is this piece of paper worth $10,000 or whatever the price
if
is?
someone's willing to pay that much for it.
Exactly. Everything is perceived value, right? If you buy a painting, why are you buying a piece of paper with paint on it, right? It's because you perceive that there's value there and you think it looks nice in your house. Generally speaking, why people invest in NFT projects, it's 3 different reasons. 1, they're speculators, right? They feel like they might be able to buy low and sell high, like anything else. 2, it's their status symbol. It's their luxury good in the digital ecosystem. Okay, so these Bored Apes, typically people have them on their Twitter profiles or on any of their social profiles, and that's their profile picture, and it shows that they are. They have the most luxurious, the most sought after digital asset. So it's their gold Rolex, right, for the digital ecosystem. And the third one, which is a really interesting one for this conversation, and I think the most interesting thing for applications moving forward, is the community. Okay. So basically, if you buy one of these apes, you now are able to enter into a community, a group, like a digital chat group on a platform called Discord, usually. Mm-hmm. In this chat group, there's celebrities, there's PGA Tour players, there's politicians, there's billionaires. So you now have access and a networking opportunity to this community of people that also own that asset. So there's like at the most basic form and how people generally just see NFTs, it's like, oh, you're buying a piece of digital art, right? But there's so many additional applications to these things. And that's kind of how we launched the LinksDAO project, is through an NFT site.
All right, so let me ask you a couple of questions about like the purchase of an NFT. Like, I'm the context I'm using is like purchasing a share of stock or purchasing, like a baseball card, or like you said there, like for the Michael Jordan rookie there was a certain number that were printed, right? And you can't really, unless you're a counterfeiter, you can't duplicate it. There's a finite number, and professionals will know if it's real or not, and that all goes into the value, the scarcity of it, and so forth. With something, an animated digital image, you could. Can you duplicate that? Can you counterfeit this? How do you protect against that?
It lives on the blockchain. So just like Bitcoin and Ethereum are transactions when they're shared between people, and that's all public. All of these transactions are public on the blockchain. So, for example, Bored Ape and our LinksDAO NFTs are built using Ethereum. So they're built on top of the Ethereum blockchain. So if I sell my NFT to Jim, you'll be able to see that transaction. You might not know that Adam sold it to Jim, but you'll see the identities of those 2 wallets because they're public, and you can see how much was paid for it, and you can see that it happened. And so there's this notion of being able to like right click and copy paste an image, which is why it's sort of the standard counter to like, well, I'll just copy and paste your ape and make it my own. Ultimately, you don't actually own it. What the person who owns the ape owns is they own the code for that image on the blockchain. Okay. So for instance, Twitter just made a feature where you actually sync your crypto wallet to your profile so that they can actually validate that your profile photo, assuming it's an NFT, is actually owned by you. And so as opposed to just uploading an image and claiming that you own it.
Okay, so what about this? So it seems like in the digital world, there's unlimited potential to create, to just let me put out 7,000 more images and try to sell those. Whereas with like currency, cash currency, I think that, it has to do with what's available in the market, the scarcity of something, whether it's a collectible or currency, whatever. But within the digital world, like you follow Gary Vee or someone, it just feels like I'm just going to make 6,000 little cartoon images and sell them as NFTs. And there you go. Like what's to, I guess, keep the value of these things strong if there seems to be unlimited capacity to build and put into the market digital things?
I think that it depends on the project and what the project's trying to do largely, right? So If somebody's saying, I'm just trying to, make some money and sell some digital collectibles, and I feel like there's a market for 1 million of them, why don't I make 1 million of them, right? In a project like ours, the scarcity is hypercritical. So we only have 5,400 NFTs. That's it. This is the Genesis collection, and the NFT, it's a digital collectible, but also brings incredible benefits to our membership community outside of just having a piece of digital art, which Jay, we can get into if you want. But I think the scarcity, most of the projects in NFTs, like most of the projects that anybody do anywhere, they're not enormously successful in the way we're describing it. The ones that have done it right, scarcity has truly played a big part.
Okay. All right.
And then,
so,
utility, right? So for instance, like Jim mentioned with Bored Ape, they've built this community, they've held events in real life that are tied to actually owning an ape as your ticket to getting in. Utility is central to this entire, LinksDAO project. Right? We've started to offer benefits to our members who are NFT holders. Ultimately, we want to have a course and club and network of clubs, and your ability to be a member will be predicated on being an NFT holder. Whereas a piece of digital art that you might just be a fan of looking at has no implicit utility other than the perceived value associated with it.
So you're adding value to this by offering benefits and so forth. So great segue. So let's start there and talk about how this intersects now with the golf industry. So, when you put the pitch out there to sell these NFTs, talk to me, like if I caught wind of it and I saw, what am I buying? How much did I spend to get into it? And what did I actually buy? And what rights do I have? And tell me all about that.
Sure. So the initial North Star is we're going to go buy, and it's great to speak with you all. It's a very relevant audience. We're going to go out and buy a great golf course and make it into the world's greatest golf and leisure club. If you would like to be a member, you have to own the NFT. It's the only way that you can get membership into this club. So 1, people get a digital collectible as described. 2, people get the opportunity to be a member at the physical club when it comes online. 3, there's an enormous amount of additional perks that we're bringing to the community, such as we did a deal with 5 Iron Golf where all of our NFT holders get 20% off. The higher tier NFT holders also get free lesson, month free membership. Bez did a deal with Shipsticks where every single one of our NFT holders gets a percentage off of their Shipsticks orders. There's also apparel companies that we're doing this with, so discounts for our community for that. And we're speaking with basically anybody that you can imagine that's a key player in the golf space about bringing perks to the community and giving access to the community. Right now, we have 14,500 people in our Discord, about 30,000 followers on Twitter. And like I said, we have of that, 5,400 NFTs. There's also the community aspect to it. So the ability to be involved with this community. And we've been actually really interested and surprised by like how many people are in the community are meeting up in real life to play golf. We kind of touched on something because, you guys know, there's one thing that if you have a community, there's another thing if you have a community of golfers. We're all total nutters, right? We're insane about the game. So it just brings the whole thing to another level. And so that's been a huge perk for everybody. And then also they get the easiest way to describe it is they get voting rights. Okay. So what we do with the community is we will put up proposals that the community can vote on. Okay. Good example of this is, do we want to give, $30,000 to Eat, Learn, Play, which is an incredible charity that does incredible things. We did that actually, and the community went up and they all voted yes. So if you have an NFT, you also have voting rights. We might say, okay, do we want the ultimate golf course to be on the West Coast of the United States or the East Coast of the United States? It goes up for a vote, the community votes. NFT holders actually get more governance rights. So there's a lot of really interesting things that the NFT brings to our community outside of just the digital collectible. And another good example, we're doing, 150-person multi-day golf event in Austin at South by Southwest. So only our NFT holders are able to come to this in real life experiences too. So there's a heck of a lot of stuff involved.
Wow. Okay. Oh, I have so many questions. All right. So how much was one NFT when you went to market with these?
When we launched January 1st and January 2nd, we sold two different tiers. One was a leisure membership and one was a global membership, and they have different rights and benefits associated with them and different voting influence. Leisures were both priced in Ethereum. Leisures were 0.18 and globals were 0.72, which roughly is like 600. At the time, it was like $650 US and $2,600 US. And then since then, the price has fluctuated pretty significantly over the last 7 weeks since that was released. We sold out in 48 hours. Every single NFT was sold, and that netted about $10.5 million US. But since then, we've had nearly $12 million or over $12 million worth of secondary sales that have happened on third-party marketplaces where these NFTs get traded. So think of it like an eBay for NFTs. The largest one is called OpenSea.
And so the DAO gets a commission on that, right? When it's resold?
The Treasury gets 7.5% commission on every sale. So I think we've generated north of $1 million to the Treasury worth of commissions on the secondary market. Okay. And that's one of the interesting aspects of this compared to, so this is not an equity club. So members will not own the club per se, but the value of the NFT should increase or change over time based on the success of the club itself. But because the NFT is your ticket to membership, there actually is a very interesting liquid market for membership, right? So if you hold a global and you buy a membership and for whatever reason you decide you don't want to be a member anymore, you can sell your NFT and potentially generate a return on that investment over time. And so that's something else that the NFT enables, which, another type of membership, sort of an offline sort of token, wouldn't enable in the same way.
Now, have you determined the financial capacity of the members of this community so that when you find that you purchase this course and you're going to actually sell memberships to this facility, that how many of these have the capacity to buy into whatever it is you're selling once you have that course up and going?
Our goal, and one of the missions around why we even started this in the first place, is that we want to make the game of golf more approachable, affordable, accessible, and just generally more fun. And so everything that we're doing, whether it's around benefits to members, whether it's around the business model that we're trying to employ, is really in service of two, very high level missions. One is provide an amazing golf experience for our members, and two, keep the cost of membership as low as we possibly can, given the innovations around the business model of a club that we think we're going to be able to implement. And so we'd like to keep the initiation costs and any sort of dues or subscription cost to the club or the network of clubs as low as we possibly can.
Okay. So any idea how much it costs to buy a top shelf facility or to build one? And do you think that you'd be successful in that fundraising effort, as successful as you were with just this? Because the money raised so far is not, from what I understand, not intended to be used on the actual acquisition of something, but more for the operations and what you need to get this thing to be a reality. Mm-hmm. So, any estimates on what it's going to be? Like, we have to raise $100 million, and we're going to, in order to do this. And what's the plan of action to get that kind of funding?
I'll take that one, guys. So we're actually entering into a fundraise now. It's traditional fundraise. One thing that's maybe helpful to know too, there's the DAO, which serves as an advisory board, okay, for all intents and purposes. And then there's a C Corp, which owns the treasury, will own the asset, will raise this round of funding, okay? So when we go out and buy a golf course, it's LinksDAO Inc., the C Corp, that's buying the golf course. It's not partially owned by all the NFT holders. So we're raising right now, and it's going to be a pretty substantial amount of money based on what we know, and we're not going to use all of that equity to purchase the property. We'll we'll raise debt for that, right? So anyway, we basically, yes, we've thought a lot about these questions that you're asking, and what's unique about what we've built to this point is we will own a golf course. It will be mostly a destination course, right? Because we have people in 45 states and we have people in 40 countries actually who own the NFTs. It'll be very affordable to buy membership and annual dues, right? So it'll be a nice recurring revenue for the club, but ultimately it's not going to be a game changer. But we're going to have a heck of a lot of people flying in to play the club. And so, the club will operate at, whatever margins it operates, which we're not anticipating are going to be gangbusters. But we have a lot of additional revenue lines in our business to generate the revenue and growth and profit that we're looking for, right? Because again, we have the infrastructure to do things like the NFT drops. There's a lot of partnerships that we're discussing right now, which are revenue generators. And there's a heck of a lot of more ways to make money than just operating the club. So I think the most important thing for us is getting the right place, working with the right designer, to make any alterations and making sure it's just like an unbelievable experience. And, the profit we're making elsewhere, we'll be able to put back into the club.
My mind is boggled by the consensus approach here. You need 65% to make some of these major decisions like East Coast, West Coast, and so forth. And I mean, Don and I are both part of, national organizations, consensus-based board decisions. And oftentimes, consensus-based decisions is the equivalent of anti-risk. It's like, it's hard to make bold decisions when you require 2/3 of your people to agree to it. So how do you reconcile and think that, entering in a pretty traditional space in the golf industry, and everybody in golf has got an opinion about something, how they think it should be. How are you going to produce something like this when you need 65% to kind of go along with your idea?
Well, Jay, I was just using the 65% to illustrate the point of what a DAO voting mechanism would be. That's not how ours works. So it's a majority rules. There's a quorum. And again, the thing to understand is, unlike a traditional DAO, which it is, every decision is based on the votes of the DAO and all the members of the DAO. Our DAO operates as an advisory committee. The C Corp ultimately makes the decisions, right, as the fiduciary. So, but it's also on the other side, it's super important that what we're doing is accepted and excited. And a lot of the great ideas are coming from the community, because that's the kind of the zeitgeist of what we're trying to bring into the market. So ultimately, yeah, if we're, we need to be able to move quickly. We have a lot of technology on our side that helps us to do that with the community of our size. And yeah, I think we've up to this point proven we can move pretty fast, even with this big community that we're working with.
I'll ask another question, Don. You, by the way, you chime in anytime you want. I'm monopolizing all the questions here for sure. But all right, so how, if the Links Corp owns the asset, and then you've got the DAO over here, how do you engineer accountability forever in that structure between the two? Because that, the heart and soul was the community, but then you've got a corporation that owns and operates the asset. Connective tissue forever.
Jay, you were breaking up there a little bit at the end. Can you just can you ask one more time?
Can you hear me okay now?
Yeah.
All right. So how do you ensure the connective tissue is strong and permanent between the community and the corporation that owns and operates the asset?
Technically we do it through a platform right now called Discord. Philosophically, the two just don't work without each other. They just simply don't. So, because remember, it's not just a community, it's also the membership, right? This is, everything we're doing is in service of the membership. So the partnerships we do, if the membership's not interested in them, they don't bring any value. The golf course that we build, if we build it in Saskatchewan, because we're like, oh, we're gonna save a little money, nobody goes, nobody buys a membership, it just doesn't work. Because we have incentives completely aligned for the success of the project, it's been very easy to keep the two working, hand in glove together. Because again, if you do that, if you lose that connective tissue, just the whole thing wouldn't work.
But how? Let me go a little deeper on this. How is that connective tissue structured so it never breaks apart? Because who is in the leadership at the corporation, and how are they forever connected to the community?
There are a substantial number. Yeah, I mean, like tactically, there are team members that will sit on both, basically straddle corp and DAO. People that help run the community, that have a pulse on how the community is operating, what they're interested in, what the culture is of the membership. There's at this point probably close to 36 to 40 people that are entirely volunteering their time and effort to help moderate the community, to help drive initiatives forward. The event in Austin was entirely planned by volunteers who are NFT holders. In fact, one person doesn't actually own an NFT. He just loves golf and loves what we're doing, and raised his hand and said, I want to be involved with setting up a phenomenal first event for LinksDAO. And so the incentives of the DAO, the incentives of both groups to work together, as Jim mentioned, are there, but also the incentives for DAO and membership participation are there, because they know that by volunteering, by contributing time, by raising their hand and being helpful on making introductions to some of the best introductions we've had to management teams of players and things like that have come from NFT members themselves, who have just said, hey, a buddy of mine works at Wasserman. I'm going to introduce you to an agent there. Right? That didn't come from Jim or myself reaching out to them or from inbound. It came from people who are members who know that if they push the project forward, that will result in benefits for the entire community.
Yeah. And I think, Jay, what's been interesting too is like the makeup of the community. So it's like, it's this amazing group, and in like on social platforms, there's not always an overwhelming amount of positivity, but with this group, it's like people that really love they love the mission, they love the family that we built. And they love interacting with other like-minded people. And so I think that's been great. I think also what's been surprising is the reaction by the traditional golf community, like a lot of the kind of the world's largest golf companies who have been very engaging. A number of PGA Tour players that are very interested in being involved. There's a lot of people outside of golf too. Steph Curry owns a couple of the NFTs. He's actually active in the Discord, which is pretty cool. Jake Owen, who's a country music star, Kid Rock. There's just like a lot of really interesting people in the community. A lot of really fascinating people that I think are really should help to give a lot to the project.
That's really interesting, Don. What you got for the board?
This is a lot to take in. I like it though. I think a Club Pro guy, and he's got his 3-Jack National he's trying to do. I won't be surprised if Club Pro guy does an NFT so he can build his golf course that he's working on. I always enjoy his videos, but I do think it's very fascinating in that, one, being a golf course owner operator, right? Whether I thought I had a DAO or not, it seems like everybody wants a little input on what kind of bunker sand I have, what greens are, what the grass is on the greens. Also, to your point, I was watching my wife. She was on Instagram last night watching a live interview between one of the Bachelorette guys talking to some of the consumers or some of those people who had watched the show. And there was a relationship there. They wanted to know who this person really is. So I get it. When you talk about the community, if you do have some celebrities, you do have some noteworthy, some brand identity type of people, why wouldn't you wear the Rolex? Why wouldn't you say, I know everybody who wears a Rolex and I'll be in the same community? So I get it. I worry, a little bit in that there's some paper value, obviously, of what you guys have sold at the 5,400. That it is paper. So at some point you've got to utilize that. And I know you're doing your cash on the C Corp side to raise the money, but the value is, are you going to do right by the experience, which I get again, because now I see why these events are so important, because the value of the NFT is also the value and the encouragement that the project's going to be what you say it's going to be.
Absolutely,
so
yeah.
you create these experiences. So they're like, these guys are no joke. They're going to do it. You have to get it done then, right? And I think as you guys build this and have successful projects, and I think others start to follow your lead, I think it can get exciting. One thing I do know about Augusta Ranch is I have a lot of brand loyal people. They don't buy an NFT, but they buy a shirt because they want to know that they are at Augusta Ranch. So in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, how do I create for these loyal people at Augusta Ranch an NFT for Augusta Ranch? Because even if it's some certain raise of capital that creates some endowment that maybe funds my junior program or funds my military program, because NFT is successful, I could see people wanting to do that and say, well, what are you going to do with the money down at Augusta Ranch? Because I want to be part of it. Well, I'm going to use this money for this. Oh man, that's really cool. And I want to be an NFT holder of the best executive course in Arizona, right? So my mind's kind of blown because I can think of all these opportunities. At the end of the day, you have to produce, right? You have to create that project that everybody says, that's why this NFT is worth so much, because they actually did what they said they were going to do, and they created a community based on what they said they were going to build it on. So it's very fascinating to me. I certainly got to research a little bit more. I didn't really even ask a question other than, is this your only project? I mean, if you see this being successful, would you start some other ones? And I know you want this to be a club in a sense. Would you build more clubs, or simply hope that other clubs will want to be part of this NFT, enhancing the value of the current NFT?
Ultimately, we want to have a network of courses and clubs. Right now, as Jim mentioned, there's 5,400 unique holders of the NFT. There's actually a little over 9,000 that were minted. So some people hold more than one. And so, we've never owned or operated a golf course, but we also know that 5,400 people is a lot of members for one single location, even if it's a destination, sort of entirely national membership. And so over time, we want to have a network of these. We have, like Jim mentioned, we have a global membership base. We've got a basically fully national membership base in 45 plus states. And so giving people easy access to courses is definitely something that we intend to enable. And one of the interesting things that we didn't touch on, but I think goes back to a question that Jay asked, which is, who these people are and why they bought them. And one of the most interesting data points that we have is that 33% of accounts created in our Discord community were created in the month of January, which to us is an indication that these people are new to Web3. They are new to NFTs, because for all intents and purposes, Discord has become the platform for these types of groups and communities. And so that to us is a really interesting sort of case study in how not just golf, but like passions and hobbies and interests are actually a really interesting on-ramp to the Web3 and crypto world. But also speaks to the fact that we've got a lot of diehard golfers who bought into this, not because of the crypto piece, or frankly, even to make money. They bought in because they want to be a part of something really special in the game of golf.
Adam, let me ask you about competition, because to buy a golf course in the traditional way, before this was even a concept, it's just a lot of hurdles, lots and lots of hurdles to owning and operating a golf course. It's a difficult proposition. It's not an easy thing. So, and I'm not saying what you've done is easy, but it is only a few months old, and you kind of got lightning in a bottle here a little bit. But it wouldn't be difficult for someone to say, I can do that too. And I'm going to create this community, create NFTs, sell it, and we're going to do our own network of clubs, or we're going to do this as well. What's the prospect of people being able to create these communities, raise money around it, go out there and do the same thing? And do you feel like we could reach, an oversaturation point quicker than you would in traditional industries?
I don't think so. There are a couple groups that have started in and around when we did. They have not had the success that we have had in terms of capturing people's attention, selling the NFTs, and building this community. A function of that is the team here. So Mike, who wasn't able to join, Mike has north of 100,000 followers on Twitter. He is a very vocal and respected voice in the Web3 and crypto ecosystem. He manages, with a couple partners, a fund north of $125 million to invest in the Web3 and crypto space. And so when Mike put this beacon out, on December 15th, and a bunch of us jumped on board, it immediately sort of struck a nerve with people, but he had the megaphone to get that idea out in front of a lot of people very quickly. And then over the course of the next 2 weeks, we set up a Discord. We held what's called a podium, which is basically kind of think of it like an earnings call in a lot of ways, where team members just were answering tons and tons of questions about what we were trying to do from hundreds and hundreds of audience members who were in the community. We held Twitter Spaces. Basically, I think we did 5 or 6 of these over the last 2 weeks of December, in addition to having an engineering team that actually had to build the contract that actually went out and designed the NFTs and shipped this. And so there's actually a substantial amount of work that went into building credibility with the community to even convince them to spend $650 or $2,600 on a digital token that literally had no benefit whatsoever, other than the promise that this team, which has done a lot of stuff in other industries, was going to deliver on that promise. I think our view on competition more broadly now is like we view we're in a rising tide lifts all boats ecosystem here. Anyone who's trying to push the game of golf forward in interesting ways, whether it's through using NFTs and crypto to do so, or in, I'll call, more traditional ways, is something that we're a huge fan of. I mean, we're inspired by, the work that like Mike Kaiser and those teams have done. We're inspired by, what Ben and Cabot have done now with buying Worldwoods. We love what, projects like Ahoopy and Ballyneal and Sandhills and what Zach is doing with Tree Farm. Like, these are all projects and groups that we like draw inspiration from and admire. And fortunately, we've had because of the success and really the attention that we've had the fortunate opportunity to talk to a bunch of those people over the last 2 months and just frankly, just learn as much as we possibly can from those people that have been doing this like a hell of a lot longer than we have.
What's the timeline on actually getting that physical course for members? And let me ask you this, these kinds of things take longer than usual, although you guys are running at a very rapid pace. What happens if it's taking just a hell of a long time and you've got all these members of the community that are just saying, all right, where's our course? Where's our course? A year from now, year and a half from now, what if we get into this position where it's like, does the value of that NFT possibly decline because you're not delivering on that promise? So what's your timeline and what's the pressure to get it done?
Yeah, Jay, we want to open the course in the first half of next year. That's what we're targeting right now. I wouldn't speculate on the value of the NFT based on timeline at all, because it's totally hearsay. I have no clue. But the first half of next year, we feel like, it's an aggressive timeline, but it's doable. We've gotten a heck of a lot of help from, a lot of people that have bought and sold golf courses through the years up to this point. And, I think that it's something that we're going to do the right way. We're not going to rush it, because rushing it doesn't provide the experience that our members deserve. But we are fully committed in an obsessive way to delivering an incredible experience as fast as possible. So first half of next year is what we're shooting for.
Okay. Related to the crypto question is, because this is my first experience where it's really intersecting the golf industry in the concept of ownership here, right? And creating this club atmosphere and this club model. Where do you see crypto intersecting with golf in the next 10 years? I'm just, a golf course owner in middle America here. I'm running my operation. Where should you expect to be swept into this, whether you like it or not? It's just going to be part of your life. Like, we just got approached recently by someone that said, we need to install crypto ATM machines in every golf course in America. We're like, wait a second. Whoa. I get it, trying to be 2 steps ahead and being there, what have you. But where do you see is the low-hanging fruit for the crypto world to enter the golf space at a typical golf course, besides what you guys have done here?
I think there's some really great applications. I would even say maybe Web3, I think, is probably going to be first. I was just I belong to a private course up in Fairfield, Connecticut. Love it. Very, very traditional. Not at all like what we're trying to build, but I love it just the same. And I was talking to somebody from the board today, and we were talking about some of the challenges of like just country clubs in general. One of the challenges that, that I know a lot of people experience is socially at a country club, you have limited interactions. So it takes a while to build out a network of people you enjoy spending time with, right? And part of that's great, because you got to put an effort forward to get to know folks and ultimately get closer to them. However, if we had a way to increase the amount of communications between members and the ease of use of communications between members, it's probably a much more inclusive and interesting place to be a member of. So in my club, we're going to be building out basically a membership community social platform that everybody's going to be invited to, and it's like easy. It's way easier than looking into your contacts and saying, all right, here's Jim Daly's email, here's his phone number. I got to call him and try to set something up. You can just basically say, we're going to be here with so-and-so with Adam Bezvanik on Saturday. We got to do some. Who else wants to hop on? And within 3 minutes, you're going to have some people in there maybe you haven't met yet, that now you're out playing golf with. I have a house in Florida. If anybody has a ski house, we could do a swap. Not sure if anybody in the community has that or not, but there's ultimate trust that's built into the community because you're all members of the same club. You just put that out there, things happen pretty quickly. We're trying to organize a golf trip. It's these 4 guys. We're looking for 4 guys we've never met before. Anybody interested? Like these types of things, I think are going to make the club experience and community experience at clubs a lot better. And frankly, they're not hard to do. So crypto, ATMs, I don't know why in the world you would need that on a golf course at any point in time. I mean, it's a funky little thing to have, I guess, but I think some of the ways that we can have platforms, social platforms that are tied to club membership and only the members of those clubs are part of that social platform, I think can really revolutionize the experience.
And there's a few things that members have suggested for LinksDAO, which, might make sense for us now. Maybe it makes sense for other clubs 10 years from now, but like the applications of an NFT actually have a lot of relevance to any sort of club membership, right? It represents access and rights and governance, and it's tradable, right? And it's trackable. And so the idea that you could be a member of a club and now immediately have liquidity sort of using the NFT is, I think, is actually a really interesting application. There's a phenomenon in sort of the gaming space called play to earn, where you actually generate income by playing some of these video games, and it's all on the blockchain. So people have suggested actual play to earn phenomenon in golf, right? So what if you got actually compensated for the amount of time you were practicing at the LinksDAO course, right? You're putting effort in on your short game, you're working on your game. You should generate a small amount of income from that, right? There's sort of a lot of interesting sort of applications that the NFT enables. To Jim's point around collaboration with playing with other members, we could track all of the different members that you play with at your club, Jay. And someone suggested that we give out our own green jacket every year to the member who played with the most different members at the club. And we can track all of that through our NFTs on the blockchain.
Wow. Unbelievable. My head is spinning with excitement right now, actually. And so, Don, any final questions for the guys? Oh, you're on mute, buddy.
Sorry. Jim and Bez, I appreciate it. I got a lot more things. We might have to do part 2 of this bad boy because I need to better understand it, because I might need some private label NFTs for Augusta Ranch, because I'd love to use some of that money to endow some junior programs and military programs. I think that'd be some amazing use of that money. But I appreciate your time today. It was awesome.
I hope Don and I get the invitation to your big event in Austin at South by Southwest. I'd love to be there and witness the community in action and meet some of these interesting people. If nothing else, I think what a testament to the power of crowdfunding and of course crypto. This is it's a sort of crowdfunding, but what crowdfunding has done for so many people in the world is amazing. And you're kind of applying this in a very different, unique way. It's very exciting. I look forward to following your success and others that enter this space. But you're right, we may have you both back on the show as you continue to develop this, add value, and all of that fun stuff. We may have you back on the show for a follow-up interview if you guys are good with that.
Sure, absolutely. And maybe in a year or so time, we'll be members of the association.
Yes, and you'll be able to pay in NFTs and cryptos. We're going to have a new membership payment processing feature by that time, I'm sure. Maybe a crypto ATM that you can use. So, guys, thank you for being here. Great show, and look forward to meeting members of your community and getting involved. So good luck with everything. And to all of our watchers and listeners, have a great rest of February, and we'll see you next month. Take care, everyone.
Take care, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.